Call you all to order in the honor 10.5 meeting for December. You would all please join with me with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Foster.
I am here.
Mr. Connor.
I am here.
Ms. Dow.
Here.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Nealon.
Here.
Mr. Wentworth.
Here.
Mr. Burgess and Ms. Foster are excused this evening.
This is the time for our public participation. You are here and would like to publicly participate. You can come up to our beautiful plastic podium. If not, you can email for public comment at publiccomment@rsu25.org, or you can phone in public comment at 307-8099. Seeing as how we don't have a line to get to the podium, we will move on to adjustments to the agenda.
I've got two adjustments for you. If you would please add Adrian Russell to volunteer for the wrestling team, but for high school. And also, if you please move item 7, executive session to consider readmission of students, to follow item F, approval of minutes.
Right? So now we will move on to item F, approval of minutes. Look for a motion. I move that we approve the minutes of November 21st, 2023. Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes? That is unanimous with our 2 absentees.
Got it, thank you.
Now we will move on to item 7. Pursuant to the MRSA Title 1, Section 405(6)B, for the discussion and consideration of student readmission. Now, does this need to be an executive session?
It must be an executive session, so we need a motion.
I move that pursuant to MRSA Title 1, Section 405(6)B, for discussion and consideration of student readmission, we will enter executive session.
Second.
And a motion in a second. All those in favor? And it is time for us to move into executive session. I would look for a motion for the readmission of a student.
Move to readmit the middle school student effective immediately.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the readmission? That is unanimous.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
They go tomorrow morning.
Don't be late.
Next, we have the superintendent's report. Communications correspondence.
Yep. Kind of the same idea, so. You notice there's a letter in there from Deputy Chief Winchester expressing his appreciation for Mr. Morrell's efforts. That was very nice, they took the time to write that letter, but absolutely, Jim, we say nice things about him a lot, but he earns those. And I will tell you, during this recent weather situation, Jim has been active in getting everybody's systems up and running and keeping us moving forward, rebuilding one town's server that crashed, and they were only down for a short time compared to could have been extended length. So Mr. Morrell and his tech team have done wonderful. We greatly appreciate his efforts and theirs. I have a letter in there from the Department of Education for adult education and for their subsidy for FY '24, which is $47,822.97. Just what I put in there too is just a reading information for you. We went through the past couple of years. There's been a lot of information in the papers, a lot of conversations around different things and behaviors at board meetings in different communities. And I just shared with you the final decision that was made at the United States District Court, District of Maine. And I think it's interesting reading, which is appropriate behavior, you know, what is allowed, what's not allowed in school. So that's what I have for you for communications. As far as my report goes, since I wrote this report, we've got a little weather system come through here. We weathered the storm very well, extremely well. We did have a couple of roof leaks, and a lot of it had to do with direction and wind. It wasn't necessarily penetration, but they were getting up and under flashings and stuff. So, but that was minor. We did lose on a building up on the football field, a fascia board off the roof. Minor.
Yeah, storage building.
Storage building, yep. The porta potty that was left at the Miles Lane Field, we're waiting for the company to come back and write that and clean that up.
I text Rich, it hasn't, I said, I hope there was nobody in it.
We saw no evidence, but not sure. And the only other thing that was kind of an oddity is if you go up to the middle school, the set of bleachers, bleachers, 3 rises, flipped up, and the top seat is hanging across the top rail of the fence. And it's almost like we picked them up and set them there for the winter.
Good place to store them.
It's like, that's a good place to store them. The fence was not hurt. They're not hurt. It's just, we have to get people up there to lift them off. We did lose one piece of, the roof, a small flashing piece on the roof of the greenhouse, but that survived. Even with the power loss, we didn't lose a single fish.
Wow.
And our plants are still growing, so.
Awesome. How long were we without power here at the schools?
The schools were without power for just under 3 days, the weekend.
Really?
Yeah. You know, so we lost Monday, right?
Right, yeah.
You know, but, we were able to come back and thankfully we had generator power. You know, on Tuesday, carry us, and then we were able to come back on Wednesday, so. As far as disruption goes, we lost that one day of school. Obviously, we couldn't have had school, even though we have generators. Those generators are enough to keep building systems going if we needed to, for a short period of time, or to use as a warming center, but to run school, fully run school, those are not sufficient to run the whole building. They can get to keep the freezers going, refrigerators going, partial of the kitchen, keep some lights on, keep the heat on, so the community needed a warming shelter. One thing we did learn, and I'm working, Chief Gagan, is our emergency plan called for the use of the Miles Lane and the middle school for emergency warming shelters. But it's never happened that we're able to keep school open and the need for the warming shelter concurrently. So we're re-looking at that, and Chief is looking at that, so if schools are open, there'll be an alternative location for that, but working on that. Other than that, I think we've got through fairly well. We do have a lot of employees whose houses were impacted. We have a lot of families that still without power, more coming on, but that's part of the reason why I really wanted that school. It's warm and dry, kids can be fed, meals, gives family a chance to get things organized at home, so. We had a couple of disruptions of bus runs, but they were able to successfully reroute that and communicate with the families to meet at different locations. And I appreciated the efforts of the road commissioners. They communicated with me nicely. We heard from families saying, we live on this road, you don't want to come up on it, a tree just went down. And so we were getting real-time reports. So the last place we had an obstruction was on the Ball Mountain Road. I was out there today prior to dismissal. There is one place we still can't get a bus underneath the wire that came down. We don't want to chance it. We're not going to risk it. So families have been meeting us at the end of the Ball Mountain Road and the Mast Hill Road, and go from there. But the crews were right down the road working, so I'm hoping by tomorrow we should be set to go. But knock on wood, we were doing fine. And that is my report. I'll happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Jim? All right. Board Chair's report. Lovely start to December. But just to update everyone on the superintendent search committee, I believe that the committee has been fully selected, and we are prepared to have our mandatory training here shortly in the beginning of January, and then we will be starting our work and preliminarily looking at the candidates who are coming through. And as that transpires, I will give you guys apprised of how that's going.
How are we going to be informed? Are we going to be informed by phone call or email or?
I'm not good with email,
I've heard.
so that's how I will contact you guys. And that's my report. Committee reports, we don't have anyone from Kirkland. Finance.
I don't remember what happened. Sounds good.
Sounds good. He's welcome to
I
the.
think I was a little feverish that night. I don't remember quite what was going on.
Finance committee met, we went over the budget to actual performance. We're about 39% spent down, and that's appropriate for this time period. We also looked at the food service. Amazingly, we didn't lose any of our inventory in the storm. So that's a real plus. And as usual, the senior are still in the negative. So at the end of the year, Jim is going to be discussing with them what they need to do to get their act together. Any questions on finance?
I have a question, Tom. Whenever we have issues like you just said about food, possibly losing food, what's the protocol for that? Do we just throw it away? There's no way
It's
to.
destroyed.
We were lucky in this instance where we didn't have any food losses as a result of this situation.
Right, but I'm just saying if it did happen.
If it did happen, yeah, we would have to.
You know, all I can think of is a restaurant up in Brewer that ended up cooking everything up and
Yeah.
keeping it.
Yeah.
Well, if it goes bad, you can't cook. Right,
Before we.
before, now, they cooked it before it went bad, but if we lose a freezer and it, goes overnight.
There's no way of catching it before it goes.
No, well, that's why we try to stay on, they're all alarmed and we try to stay on it, so.
Okay, that's a rare thing.
Yeah, we have, and we've had situations where we've had a freezer go down, we take pickup trucks and we haul it to the other schools and fill those freezers up, we do whatever we can.
So there's some sort of protocol.
Oh, we try to do everything we can not to lose food.
Right.
Can't say it's never happened, but.
Particularly when it comes to those 20-pound logs of Hamburg, you don't wanna lose those.
Oh,
That's a lot of money.
it's a lot of
A
money.
lot of money. Yeah, but that can go right real quick.
Yes, it certainly can.
And food's not a place we're gonna take a chance.
No.
I mean, I'm taking a chance on the bacon, but that's different.
That's different, yeah.
Anybody in policy?
Well,
Kieran's all about that.
Yeah, so, policy committee did meet, we did go, back over a lot of the recognition policies. The JMA group of policies regarding the Golden Buck Hall of Fame. We have actually started reaching a lot more consensus on a lot of the different items that were, encouraging healthy debate. And we are looking forward to hopefully getting policy nailed down and moving into procedure in our next meeting.
We did have two policies we moved forward, which one was just early in review and under first reading. And then the other one was just a quick slight change, but
But the second one didn't have any changes, did it?
correct.
Okay, I was looking at it twice, no, and I don't see.
Absolutely nothing. It was just a review. It's been pretty stagnant, so it needed a once over and nothing's changed, so
It stood the test of time this time.
it has.
well, we did discuss what the Eastern Maine,
Seminary. Yeah,
that was quite interesting, if you look into the history of that. Quite a prestigious place it is there. Before the junior high, the old Walker Gardner, that place has been pretty outstanding faculty from all over the country. So we've actually brought them into the Hall of Fame, nomination also, or legendary, or whatever we're gonna call it.
the latest.
Legacy nomination.
Legacy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily just a seminary, but
Right, oh, yeah,
historic.
that's opened up that a little bit. Won't be a lot. Facilities, we did meet, we had quite a variety of conversations, but first Anthony pretty much gave us an update on all the, capital improvement plan items that were completed, to highlight some of them. The Jewish School got their, what is it, the water main from Broadway, that was finalized, now we're down to 1 meter instead of 2. Miles Lane, replaced the boilers, that's all, they're up and running today. The middle school, not a lot, we talked about LED fixtures, and then we ended up talking about, in the high school, we talked about the 2 boilers that were replaced. With the 9-section Smith boiler, but the most dominant conversation of the night was the, long discussion we had a removal replacement of the, 30-plus-year-old in-ground fuel tank at Miles Lane. And
34, we got that,
34,
yeah, we got that verified.
okay. So there's a story behind that where, we found out that, I guess, the EPA or DEP, found out that by accident, they say that it was over 30 years old and they said we had to replace it. If we don't, they gave us a little time, but now it's crunch time, we have to get it done. It's gonna cost some money. So we really didn't finalize any procedure we were gonna do, we just discussed it.
Part of that conversation was to take a look at CDBG grants, block grants. Mr. Rotella volunteered to take lead on that because that's really a community grant, not a school. Our communities don't qualify because we take a look at the 4 communities that make up RSU 25. Their ratio of low to moderate income is too high relative to that grant. The person from the state of Maine is going to meet with us next after we get back from vacation, and there may be some other areas we can look to find some money to help with that. We've already had that priced out as a removal by a company that's licensed to do that, so we have an idea of the cost, but that's gonna be part of the overall plan going into the budget. Cost isn't as expensive as you think, it's upwards of $35,000, but then we're gonna have to put money into, because we're still gonna need fuel there so we can run the generator and also back up the boiler, so we'll have to come up with a plan, which is being worked on.
And that 35,000 is just the removal?
Just a removal.
Yeah. what was it, if it was removal and putting it back?
$235,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, kind of like, we're not doing that. So,
That was the act.
that's just enough.
Graduate.
Yeah, hometown boy, yeah.
No,
Giving us the
have a
friends and
discount.
family
Oh,
discount.
we got the
No,
friends and
let's
family
keep their
discount.
place.
we did.
That was-
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was how-
And like it's-
We're gonna have to put in fuel tanks. We have a plan, secondary
Oh,
plan
yeah,
to run, but run interior double wall fuel tanks. We can get in tandem, we can put 2 or 3 tanks together. Which would give us more than enough to run a couple of days, and if we need to get emergency deliveries at that.
Because it's been the generator.
Right, because it's running a generator, it's considered under the motor fuel, as opposed to if it just ran the furnaces, it would be heating fuel, and those have different restrictions.
They can go longer.
Even though it's the same fuel.
That was an issue.
That was an issue.
Someone got there?
Got a couple people wanted out.
That captured a bulk of our costs.
Yeah.
We won't continue it on tonight, but.
No, we have no control over it. All right.
Spent about 3 hours that night reading up on why. It doesn't make any sense, but HCTC.
Well, we met last Friday for our annual breakfast put on by the culinary students, which was excellent. And this meeting is where principals and guidance counselors from Hancock County come to hear a presentation from Bill Tracy to familiarize them with what is happening at HCTC. And I felt he did a fabulous job. Well, last year we had this meeting, he'd been on the job 5 days. And he brought that up, so he was a lot more polished this year, and I know he's happy, he loves it down there, you can just see it in him. And he's a good man for that job. So,
While we're talking about HCTC, part of the Aspire project, and we talk about preparing, kids transitioning from middle school to high school. And because HCTC is an integral part of our academic programming, Jen Terry has been working with Bill and the teachers at HCTC, and has put together these flip charts talking about the overall school, and then each one of the programs offered. So this will be available not only here at Bucksport Middle School, but also all the middle schools across Hancock County. So I'll share this with you, take a look at it, but press.
I was surprised that I sat next to an elementary superintendent.
Yep.
From Beach Hill.
Yep.
You knew her,
Mhm.
I didn't, but she knew me.
Yeah.
Cause I did need testing down there, she goes, I remember you from Beach Hill. What?
So basically, it's a college brochure for HCTC.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's high quality, talks about all the programs, but we want kids to understand their pathways and their choices they make as they select courses. They're gonna have to be ready, so if they wanna be able to access HCTC, you need to make sure you get your prerequisites and your courses done. If you wanna go college preparatory, you gotta make sure you select the class.
And is this offered to 8th grade students? Is it going to be offered to like 8th grade students so they can?
Yep, prior to, but it'll be available post conversation with parents.
Perfect.
No old business. Under new business, we've got some resignations and retirement.
Yep, I had some resignations. Amanda Roy, we granted her leave for family medical situation. That situation is gonna be ongoing for a while, so she has submitted her resignation. Also, support personnel Sherry Warren, BHS Special Education Ed Tech, Brandon Dantzler, Sped Ed Tech. And that's what I have for resignations this month.
I would look for a motion to accept. Well, I move that we accept the resignation with regret of the block.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Amen. Next, we have some nominations.
I do have nominations for support personnel and coaches and co-curricular. Support personnel, Christy Pratt, Miles Lane School Special Ed Tech. William Hatch, Miles Lane School Special Ed Tech. Sarah McDonald, Miles Lane School Library at 3. Co-curricular, Michael Ruiz, boys, BMS boys basketball volunteer. Kate Pilot, DHS robotics volunteer. Theodore Carter, DHS wrestling volunteer. Travis Hutchinson, DHS volunteer, and we have the addition of Adrian Russell, VHS wrestling volunteer.
That is Piedmont, you got that.
I did, that's a lucky guess.
I would look for a motion on those nominations. Well, I move that we accept the nominations as a block.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Next, we have consideration and possible action on robotics competition schedule for the school year 23.
So 23-24, I'm sorry. Well, no, 24. As typical, in your next few items, I'll deal with this. We have, anytime we have a team that's overnight or out of state or the combination of the two, the request must be made to the board for approval. And so that's what this is. This is basically a standard schedule for our robotics team for the school year. We have 4 activities, one Salem, New Hampshire, February 29th through March 2nd, Lewiston, Maine, February 15th through March 17th, West Springfield, Massachusetts, April 3rd, April 6th, and if all goes well, Houston, Texas, April 17th through April 20th.
Can we look at that Lewiston again? February 15th to March 17th?
I'm sorry,
Could that be March 15th to March 17th?
no, how about that should be,
Yeah, it must be March
It
15th
is
is
March.
Friday. Okay.
it's a March,
I
I'm
thought, no,
sorry.
we're giving you guys the whole one. I want to share one. That's a good trip.
Yeah.
Are we allowing them to miss school for that long?
Well, it's really,
You want to Lewiston?
They were just transferring.
Gosh.
Yeah, really.
Not that far, we can bus them.
no, sorry about that.
Even before that.
Okay.
It wasn't a great place to be.
Yeah. But the Houston would only be if they qualify.
Either it's Houston.
That's
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I moved that we accept.
West Springfield.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So Lewis,
Salem's the best one.
I move that we accept the competition schedule for 23-24 for the robotics team.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Next, we have consideration and possible action on VHS indoor track qualifying athletes to compete in the New England competition on March 1st and 2nd in Boston.
As part of the culminating activities, if students qualify for the New Englands, and we have had students the last 3 or 4 years qualify. We'll have anywhere from 3 to 6 students would qualify, go down and compete. It's overnight. It's done in the Reggie Lewis Athletic Center at Northeastern, and it's a wonderful experience for our kids, and they get to compete against high school athletes from across New England, and it's fantastic.
Great experience.
But again, where this is out of state and overnight, we need the board's approval to allow them to go if they qualify
It's something we've done
consistently.
quite a bit, so.
None of this is new.
Well, I move that we allow qualifying athletes within the New England competition, March 1st and 2nd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion? That is unanimous as well. Thank you. Next, we've got consideration of and possible action on qualifying VHS wrestling team members to compete and stay overnight as needed for the following tournaments.
There are 3 tournaments. We do have the Class B Northern Regionals are being held at University of Maine in Fort Kent. Weigh-ins there start around 7:30 in the morning. It'll be tough to leave here and get there in time. So we're recommending they go up the night before. We have secured lodging for them, and they'll be right in the area, so that's set to go. Again, for qualifiers, February 16th and 17th would be the Class B State Championships in Rumford, Maine. Again, it's not an easy get to for Bucksport, so go up the night before, and the kids that do qualify are the ones that will travel with the team and will stay there. And then if we should be fortunate enough to have an individual that qualifies for the New England tournament, that's held in Providence, Rhode Island on March 1st and March 2nd.
I would look for a motion. Well, I move that we allow the qualifying Bucksport High School wrestling team members to compete, stay overnight as needed the following tournaments as listed. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? And that's it. Where did they just went somewhere this past quite a trip? The wrestling team, did they go somewhere or was it?
Yeah, they went to,
Well, I was walking the waterfront early in the morning and I saw the bus go by.
Yeah, they were Rumford.
Yeah,
Only 2.5 hours,
Yeah,
yeah.
so on non-championship, meets,
Right.
we do
Not
do the extra travel, but for the championship, meet, we want to. make sure that
Exactly.
they have-
Well, that's what I was saying. They went to Rumford, but you're right.
Question on, chaperone, do they give like background checks and everything?
Yeah.
And what qualifies the amount you need?
Well, we try to find a decent ratio.
Okay.
We don't have a specific ratio, but we do try to find a decent ratio, and we also try to find both male and female chaperones.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any kind of like a maximum ratio that we've set as far as like no more than
We've never had
15 students?
We've
per
never had a
chaperone?
concern, we've never even.
Okay.
Had enough.
No, we've always had enough, and, we've taken kids out of state to, like we used to go on, music and art trips to New York. And we'd have 4 adult chaperones, and we'd have, a full busload, see a busload of kids. 40 some odd kids.
I think we're at 17 wrestlers, so, I mean, on the one where they all go, we're still gonna be at 8 to 1. The actually, the coaches are not the volunteer coaches. So.
That's not bad. That's not fair.
Next, we have consideration of possible action on VHS outing club overnight trip to Stratton Brook Hot on Bigelow Range.
And this is a repeat trip, we've been doing, Mr. Morrison has taken kids here for a number of years. Actually, they've upgraded from tenting to actually they stay in the lodge now.
Oh,
Which is,
that's an outing. Well, is that about, is that? Oh, no.
it's kind of the new outing club, right?
Glamping.
Yeah, planting, great, very, very good. Again, it's a small group that goes, it's been very successful, they have an opportunity to go and hike, and it's wintertime hiking, and then they have
But not
a
overtime.
good warm place to come back into, so.
That's fair.
All right, I look for a motion. Well, I move that we allow the Bucksville High School Outing Club overnight trip to Stratton Brook Hot, Bigelow Range. Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Now we have first reading of policies.
Yeah, as I said earlier, we have 2 policies to bring forward to you. Policy GBO Family Care Leave Act, and very little change on that at all. Matter of fact, that was the one that was no change, and that's a review. And then also policy GDEC, drug-free workplace, just had a couple of language changes referencing a category classification of a drug, but also more importantly, the citations of the law had changed. That was, yeah, so,
Yeah, I don't even know what it is. I mean, I read it.
yeah,
So just the bath salts were added. And
Yeah.
I guess it's just a generic term
it's just
for,
a catch-all for.
yeah, outdated, any.
I am so out of whack.
That was actually 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. It's not long.
Is that the
It
one-
was really a
In
fad.
the area, people were really going berserk.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
bad.
that makes, okay, counter.
But the law had just updated to that, not even any of the current stuff, so we updated it based on what the law was, 7 years behind the drugs.
But our policy has enough of a catch-all that captures
Yeah.
everything that's there. So. You're never gonna be able to list them all.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
We need a motion to move these to second reading.
I move that we, push forward these policies for a second reading.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Ken. No second readings. We've already done the executive session. We can move on to calendar and announcements.
Calendar announcements, you have the listing there, curriculum committee, July, I'm rushing down.
Yeah.
You really wanna get out of here.
That's a pretty good slip right there. See ya.
January 11th, 2024, 6:30 at central office, policy committee, January 9th, 5:30 at central office. Finance committee and school board meeting, January 16th, finance at 5:30, school board at 6. Facilities committee, will meet January 11th at 4:30 at central office, and the Aspire committee, January 11th at 2024.
Well, I would wish everyone a happy Christmas and New Year. And We'll see you in January.
Yeah, all right.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move
The states were.
That's it,
were
basically.
I
Empirical
move that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
I think the affirmative.
All right.